Okay, so we have spent a month talking about belonging in theory and, in community and everyday life and in each other. But many of us spend a good amount of our life, days, and portion of our life at work. And so we wanted to explore the question of how do we cultivate belonging at work? How do leaders create environments that help people thrive and find connection? And so today we're going to be joined by a very special guy, my twin brother,
Aw.
David West. And I'm not going to give too much away because I'll introduce him when he joins us.
Yeah.
But I'm really excited to platform his good work that he's been doing in his role, in his work.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that conversation.
You don't want to miss it.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Morning, Dee.
Morning, Ange.
How are you?
I'm excited.
Me too. Why are you excited?
Because we're wrapping up one of my favorite, I think, stretches of our whole season so far.
Yeah.
Has been this emphasis on people.
Yeah.
So I know it has reinforced our love for people and being in relationship and talking all those things through. And I just feel a whole new level of appreciation backing up another month to the natural world and how it has really enhanced, is the word, I guess, my view of humanity.
Yeah.
So
I had a laugh. We were in a conference call the other day with a friend out in Texas, and she listens to the podcast, and she was paying us some sweet compliments and helping us think through some future things. And she was giving Dee a hard time. She said she considers herself somebody who loves nature and is appreciative of nature itself. But she gave Dee a hard time saying she couldn't go with Dee on the trying to save water when you're brushing your teeth thing. She said she needs the water to keep flushing down the toothpaste that inevitably ends in your sink.
Yeah.
So I thought, how kind is that we're still getting information and feedback from people who've been listening.
Yeah. Well, and just that it applies to everyone in the step of the journey that they're on.
Yes.
And this is something I can do right now, and hopefully that my capacity for change grows as I grow as well.
Yes.
So wherever it's meeting you as a listener,
Absolutely.
that's what we want. That's what we're thankful for.
Yeah. But I'm with you. This month specifically has been such a gift. There's a little pun to us, since we have repeatedly said both of us are highly relational and are continually wanting to cultivate ourselves as well as spaces where other people, all people, find comfort and safety in our presence. And so we've definitely learned some things this month, and we have grown. I've grown myself. And so taking a look back, if we start out with the first week in June, we talked through that every human is a gift. And like you said, that's so foundational for the rest of the entire month. And I would say for the entirety of our podcast.
Yeah.
That we believe that every person is a gift. That's why every episode is about either inner formation or how we express ourselves to other people.
And every person includes myself and yourself.
Yeah.
And I think if TMS died off tomorrow, we would want to leave our listeners with that one truth. And I think, to echo what you're saying, that is why it's foundational.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the other things we talk about, if we don't get this piece, then a lot of all of these other things will have a harder time falling into place. And it won't be like authentic.
Right.
Like so many times you remind us, we can only go to the extent that we've gone inward. So, yeah.
Specifically on those episodes, I heard from another friend who had listened to the podcast and had started listening back at the beginning and then kind of skipped around a little bit and found herself listening to the Every Human is a Gift week series. And she is an educator. And she was saying that those episodes prompted her to even look at the students in her classroom, and that she realized that there are some students who she wasn't genuinely seeing. We advocated for, we have to see everybody first. And there are sects of our population, there are sects of our society that either we don't see at all, that are invisible, or we don't want to see. And so she was intentionally thinking back through her classroom situation and realized that there are students in her classroom that she really didn't feel like she was seeing. And so she told us that going into next year, school year, she will be intentional about looking to those students and make sure they feel seen.
Wow. And you never know, especially having experience being on the side of education and being a teacher, like you never know, actually, and being on the side of education as a student and someone being willing to lean into me, to see me, you never know the difference that might make for those students. And we can never discount the work that does in us when she chooses to, or when we choose to see somebody who is unseen, what that's doing in us. So then in week 2, we just spent time honoring generations that are ahead of us and generations that are behind us. And that was a really cool thing to sit with for a week, reflecting on what we are leaving as ancestors right now.
Yeah. And we teased out the difference in maybe considering ourselves ancestors instead of just legacy leavers. So that was really impactful for us for me anyway, to sit through that and tease out the difference. Am I more interested in sometimes leaving my reputation, something I've built behind, and wanting future generations to build on that? Or am I just wanting to influence and love well the people who come after me and watch them flourish on their own?
Yes.
So
I think the other takeaway for me was just the intentionality in proximity. It was so cool to learn about intergenerational living and who's doing that. And in, my experiences, I usually, growing up, my grandparents were near, my aunts and uncles, my cousins. So it was modeled for us in that way. But as I've gotten older and my grandparents have passed away, most of them, like I'm going to have to be more intentional in proximity to older and younger generations.
Absolutely. We did a fun experiment with that particular week at the dinner table downstairs. We started the conversation and just ask who had been influential in the lives of each person at the table. And we went both directions. We went who has older than you, you've learned from, and who younger than you have you also learned from. And that turned into such a sweet, quite emotional conversation.
Yes. Yeah. I found myself thinking about it days after the conversation.
Yeah. And realizing that just even in this, we have close proximity. We're quite familiar with each other. I'm not necessarily related to you guys by blood, but definitely by friendship and by life experiences. But to sit and be able to encourage one another and give space for those kinds of conversations was pretty amazing.
Yeah. And then some more feedback we got was on this episode was that, and I'll just read the comment that was left on YouTube. This listener said, feels like disagreement is criticism because our thoughts don't align. Feels like a personal attack. Maybe because we were isolated in a community or culture where everyone had to think the same. So thank you for that comment. And yes.
Yep.
We talk all the time about getting out of an echo chamber, essentially. Surround yourself intentionally with people who have different opinions and be open-handed to listen and have curiosity.
Yeah. And I think important to distinction there is we advocate for connection, but making a connection with somebody that you may have some things in common isn't the same thing as being the same.
Right.
There is a big difference there. And so I think as we pursue connection, we find commonalities that we may share, but that's not to say we're all the same.
Yeah.
So that was something I've continually been thinking on. Like, am I willing to connect with other people and find maybe some commonalities, but not expect them to think or behave or to live the same way that I do?
Yes, which is what reminds me of what you said that was so brilliant about information, not instruction. That a lot of times when we receive information from an older generation, it feels like, or the emphasis on this is how you have to do it.
Right.
But we can take information into our context and our filter and use it in the way we need to.
Yeah. So then the third week of June, we talked all the way through using such a beautiful analogy, which was your
Yes.
favorite.
Yes, for sure.
You want to say more about that?
Well, that was the garden.
Yeah.
My thing that will not leave me alone
Mm.
is that how precise the metaphor of the garden and how it translates to being in relationship with people.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful. And like we've been saying over the last couple of months, nature is such a good teacher. It's
is.
been there the whole time and it's saying these things.
Yeah,
We just have to slow down to learn.
for sure. And that week particularly was all about tending versus taking.
Mm-hmm.
And so we continually sat with that. And there were so many moments of, oh my word, I hadn't thought about that, as we used the garden analogy to go forth. And I think even coming out of that episode and sitting with it now for a while has been the care that goes into every healthy garden starts with a soil.
Mm-hmm.
And it's often the hidden work of day in and day out, hidden work of ordinary, seemingly mundane investments in just people themselves long before I'm expecting some kind of harvest or
Return.
produce or return on my investment. Sure. And so am I willing to be patient in just that, knowing that is the best of the work,
Yes.
that everything else will come in time, but that can't be my goal.
Yes.
My goal just needs to be to tend to the soil, knowing that that's a good environment for everybody to grow.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to say it again, but the tending to the soil, you go without expectation or with the expectation of what it's doing in you. It's not just about the return and the harvest. It's about what it's cultivating in you in doing those things.
Yeah. We talked about too, even just the willingness to, when you garden, you can't garden standing up.
Right.
You have to get down in the soil. If nothing else, you have to bend over. If you have raised beds like my husband, he still has to you have to get in at the level of the garden. You have to get dirty. And so there's oftentimes, to cultivate good relationships, you have to enter into the mess with people. Nobody's life is just some pristine, well-organized, well thought-out life. You have to be willing to live and get dirty and messy.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And I think the reward is so much sweeter when you have, when you've gone through the messy to get all, when the harvest does come eventually, the reward is so much sweeter because you've worked and tilled the land.
sure. The last thing that was so impactful from that particular episode was we had this moment, even in the middle of our conversation recording, that we were thinking that oftentimes when you view taking as consumption, as this consumeristic mindset when it comes to humanity specifically, that oftentimes people want to take a stand, but they don't want to tend to the people that are involved in that stand. And so that's very fascinating. You definitely want to go back and catch that episode if you missed it.
For
It
sure.
was
It was a moment. Yeah.
for sure.
And then our last week that we were just in was about belonging. And this was a special one for us because it also feels like foundational. I don't know if we can have multiple foundational things.
Yeah. Well, I think the whole idea behind belonging was just, it seemed like how we started out with that everyone is a gift. If you carry that all the way forward, then everybody belongs.
Yes.
And so all the other episodes in between the first week of June and the last week of June we're just proving how do we, once we see people as a gift, then how do we cultivate an entire culture, a life, even within my own self, where everybody belongs. And so we started out last week with asking 2 primary questions that every human asks from pretty much from the womb, maybe not verbally, but through their humanity, longings, is, am I safe and do I belong? And so we teased all of that out. And there were some emotional moments in that, as I just, again, realized that is such a passion, I think, that we both share, of just wanting people to understand that they belong, but even more realizing that I can only allow people to feel like they belong to the degree that I belong to myself.
Yeah.
And so there were moments definitely in that where both of us had to sit with parts of ourselves that we don't always welcome as part of the whole of who we are.
Yeah. There's definitely work to be done.
Yeah.
And myself and you as far as
Absolutely.
belonging to ourselves.
Absolutely. There we highlighted a really cool analogy of a jar of marbles and then a puzzle to contrast the difference in belonging and fitting in.
Yeah. That was
And how
a
those get
moment too.
confused very frequently.
Yeah.
And so, you definitely want to catch that episode going forward.
What a month.
It has been 6 months of amazing conversations.
What a half a year.
Yes. I wouldn't want to do it with anybody else.
Yeah.
We interrupt this conversation for a brief moment of awkward self-promotion.
And Angela hates these.
I really do.
But if you're enjoying the show, following, sharing, or leaving a review genuinely helps.
Then we can stop interrupting ourselves and get back to the conversation.
Welcome, David West, to the morning share.
Dun, da, da, da.
Okay,
Hello.
So I get the pleasure of introducing our guest today.
Okay.
So joining us today is David West. If the interactions seem a bit familial today, it's because they are. This is my twin brother. And paternal, right? Is that what it means to be we're not identical twins.
Really?
Yeah. If anyone wonders, we are not identical. And I know we are overjoyed to have him with us today. When we were talking about this topic of belonging, it just became incredibly clear that this was the right time to have him on the podcast. Over the years, I have had the pleasure of watching him and witnessing his journey in the workplace. And there have been countless times where I have been actually moved to tears when he, and unknowingly, but he talks about his way of managing in the workplace and how he has cultivated a sense of belonging. And so I'm very, very excited to highlight him. And what other privilege can you have other than highlighting the people that you love the most?
I didn't know that you experienced those emotions when we talked about that stuff. So.
I for sure do.
Hmm.
It's very meaningful. And I talk about you behind your back to others, like other leaders, when they talk about, when we talk about this kind of thing. I'm like, oh, my brother does this so well. And so I'm excited to tell you that and to get to.
I'm interested to know what things you think I do well.
Well, let's get into it then.
Well, wait. Do I get a chance to introduce David?
Of course. Well, you don't get a chance to introduce, but you get a chance to add to the introduction.
Okay. Well, I feel like I should get to say something as
should.
the older sister here.
You should.
I feel like you are the bonus to my relationship with Dee. So my relationship with Deanna is unbelievable and it has its own legacy. However, you were the unexpected blessing and all that. So thank you for being a younger brother to me and definitely being a great friend. So it's an honor to have a conversation with you today and maybe be serious at some level.
Feeling is mutual. I'm glad that I met you and that Deanna introduced us.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's been fun.
Yeah.
These two are similar, let's say on the Enneagram. And so I just love it because they can go back and forth with each other in a way that I cannot because I am not natured the way they are. So it's fun to have kind of like an older sister to be able to give you back what you give. So tell us a little bit more about your role and title and your work experience with your company.
Okay. I've worked for a national company in this industry for since 2005. Started as basically a seasonal laborer and worked my way up shortly after, I think 3 or 4 years after that, and was promoted to in a junior management role. Have moved for the company several times, and now I am an operations manager, a branch manager for an office up here in the Panhandle of Florida. And at the highest point of my season, I typically have about 30 roughly 30 people underneath me in the office, and that changes occasionally. But yeah, that's what I do. It's been fun. It's a good company to work for, I think. It's got its good and bad things, but I think for a national company, I think they do a good job at taking care of the employees that they employ.
And you have been pretty much intentional in staying in this role. Like even if you had the opportunity to move into more of a senior management position, we've talked about before how you really like being kind of boots on the grounds with the people rather than with your hands on a spreadsheet. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not very smart when it comes to numbers and spreadsheets and stuff like that. And plus, I don't want to sit behind a desk all day.
Yeah.
So I like interacting with people and getting to know people.
So this is why we chose David for our conversation today.
Yes.
Okay, so let's
Dive in.
dive in.
Okay. So, as we have just wrapped up a whole week of talking through belonging and what that means in the context of our conversations, we wanted to talk to you about what or how would you kind of define belonging? What does that look like for you?
My first thought was not really sure. I don't know. I never really thought of it that way or asked myself what belonging means. But then everybody, I think, wants to belong to something or someone or some group, whatever community.
Yeah.
I would say first thoughts would be acceptance, fitting in. I think that would be my first gut reaction to that question. Without getting too deep into it, that's what I think it is.
Mm. It's so funny because we actually spent time talking about the difference between belonging and fitting in. The conclusion we came to was acceptance, like regardless, or an unconditional acceptance where you feel unconditionally accepted is belonging. But
Yeah.
then what we have misunderstood about belonging is fitting in. Angela had such a cool metaphor. She was like, if you can picture a jar of marbles, like you can be any size, any color, like everyone fits in this jar. But when you think about a puzzle, you have to conform to the exact shape and even like look like the picture of the puzzle
Yeah.
to fit in. And so,
Same color, same patterns.
yes, exactly.
So you have to change part of who you are in order to be a part of that puzzle. Where a marble, you can still be yourself and still make it in the jar.
Yeah. So anyway, that was our kind of conversation around belonging.
That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So looking then toward a more professional environment, what do you think as a leader of a team, as a leader just in general at work, what does it look like to facilitate or bring about or create a culture of belonging at work?
First thought would be listening or hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Listening and hearing are two different things, I think. But I think the biggest thing is to listen and ask questions, and not in a group setting. I try to find time to spend with each one of my current associates and past associates to either get to know them on a personal level, and also spend time one-on-one, not in a group setting, work related topics. But
Hmm.
I do my best to find either common ground or common interests with my people, and not just a one-time thing. I do it daily. So when I see them in the morning, I'll ask about how their brand new baby boy is that they just had.
Mm.
Something they told me yesterday they had to do something with their wife or girlfriend. I ask how that went, stuff like that.
Mm.
In my opinion, asking those questions first, or actually after asking those questions after they've given you some information, but listening to them, asking questions and showing genuine, um, I don't know, emotion that you care about them
Yeah.
and care about what they're telling you.
Mm.
And on the work side of things, I would say when they have suggestions or when they have complaints or problems, like same thing, listen and ask questions, and take action is probably the biggest thing,
Mm.
because I know a lot of management or people leaders that will listen and ask questions, but then that just stops there. And that's, to me, that's more damaging, in my opinion,
Mm.
than not asking or listening. You can ask and listen, and it's false caring if you don't do anything about what their concerns or complaints or anything. You don't do anything about it. That's more damaging, in my
Mm.
opinion.
That's such a good point
Mm.
of like, and just a good reflection point too, even in just relationships. If we can be a listening ear, all the time, but if we don't actually take the action of advocating for them or, joining them in their concern and struggle, then it could just be lost on them. I think that's a really good point.
And it's stuff that's simple, like, um, and I told you about this a while ago. What I do for my people is just like the snacks, or we have a great economy happening right now.
Said sarcastically.
So when you're at an entry level position and you're working to just pay your bills barely, you don't have extra money to buy protein bars or fresh fruit or whatever. So I thought about that, and I was like, I heard that where these guys are asking if I had any snacks or anything to drink.
Mm.
So I just started buying snacks and drinks in the mornings and
Mm.
afternoons, and have a hot dog roller at the end of the day, or boiled peanuts or whatever, just stuff
Mhm.
like that.
Mm.
Because to me, it goes a long way. It just, to me, those small acts, and it's minuscule money for my company,
Right.
um, should go a long way.
Mm.
And does sometimes, or most of the time it does. Some people will take it for granted, but that's everybody.
Well, speak to that point of how have you seen it? So you are intentional in seeing them and cultivating a space of belonging. And so how have you seen that not pay off, but just like, what have you seen as the results of your intention?
Well, I started about 2.5 years ago, and probably since I've been up here in this office, it probably was up there with probably two best years I've had, not just relationships with my people and the environment I work in, but results wise.
Mm.
So and it's not just that. I recognize them. I have got on my calendar birthdays and work anniversaries. I buy cakes for them during that. I recognize that stuff, but I think it's just a culmination of all those things, and listening and asking questions and taking action on certain things that I can control. I think that leads to good performance from
Mhm.
associate employees. Um, I think it's an effort, a combined effort of all those things, to try to make a team, try to make some morale, I guess you would
Mhm.
say. In this day and age, at least in my workplace, efficiencies are number one. So you can't really have a lot of water cooler time or hanging out time, especially on the clock. So we just have to set aside and find those times to do it. And I
Mm.
think to make them feel like they belong, the biggest thing is, like I said in the beginning, would be listening and asking questions and taking action.
Yeah.
Which is so interesting because those are the very things that we discussed on that episode of practices. If you want to cultivate, if you want to be a builder of belonging, it was literally the things you just mentioned. It was listening, it was remembering things about them to follow up, to ask good questions later on. It was being intentional with being a part of their lives and having interest, genuine interest in their lives. And so that's pretty amazing. I had a follow-up question mentioning all those. Did you, is there anybody that mentored you in that? Like, did someone do that for you at somewhere along the line?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. I would say there's been a number of people that I would get, I would say tidbits from or pieces of that from. Some of it just my own ideas, but I'll just give you an example. I was at a work meeting I could do annually every January. I was in Orlando, I think. And I didn't realize I was doing it, but we were all outside. Everybody was on a smoke break. We were on a break and in between sessions, and we were all outside. And I was apart from everybody by myself. Basically, I had just staring, blank staring somewhere. He noticed that, came over and put his arm around my shoulder and said, "Hey," asked me how I was doing. And he's like, "I saw you over here and I know what you're going through. Do you want to talk about it?" So to me, that kind of acceptance, and I would say, like you said earlier, our conversation before this was tending the garden.
Yeah.
That's what he was doing to me. So I think that would be my biggest influence or mentor when it comes to making people, especially employees, feel like they belong and that you really care. He would probably be on most, because he really did care. And ask me any time, any day. He's probably the best. He is the best boss I've ever worked for.
Have you kept in touch with him?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I text him almost daily.
So here's what I hear you saying is that he noticed you as a human, not an employee at that point.
Correct. 100%.
And so I feel like that's what I heard in all the things that you said you do for the guys who work with you, is you see them by remembering that they had a birthday or asking about their new baby or wanting to know about them. So you see them past being just useful to the company. You see them as humans.
I definitely do my best to try to, yes.
Is there anything that you do to, when you feel like you start seeing them as a problem to solve? Is there anything you do to kind of course correct?
Yeah, I don't react immediately. I find myself sending a text when I'm frustrated with them, and I delete the text multiple times. and I tell myself to let's wait till I see them. Let's wait till I hear what they're what's going on from their side. I tell myself this. I can hear myself thinking this, or I speak that to myself, so I stop myself from acting emotionally.
Reacting.
Yeah.
Reacting is probably never good in a business, since you always want to be proactive, in my opinion.
Well, I think we talked a little bit about the effects that your intentionality to create this sense of belonging in the workplace had on your workmates. What's the results, or what is the feeling like for you when you have spent time either creating the seafood lunch, the seafood boil, or you notice that somebody's able to have snacks and that really like lightens a day? What are the effects on you in that?
That's funny you say that, because I think about that. And it's very similar to when I cook or get to cook or help Sam or Deanna cook, or even you cook for people. It's very similar to that. Like, I want your food to be delicious and I want it to be good. And I get a lot of pride and satisfaction. And I don't know, I guess it's the way I love. I get that from my mom, I'm sure. So I get that satisfaction from that.
I think that's a great answer. So in your current season, what would you want people to see about you? What would make you feel like they see me? Like, what are some things that you think you'd like to be seen in?
That's that's a loaded question. Um, I would like to be seen as somebody that can unconditionally see or unconditionally or be a garden tender.
Mm.
I
Mm.
would like to be seen as that.
Yeah.
I see that I don't. Um, I see that I take not so much more now, but I did for a long time, and selfishness. So I would say that. I would say I would like to be seen as somebody that doesn't or isn't selfish and cares about other people more than myself.
Mm.
Mm. Me too.
In a
Mm.
perfect world, I
Mm.
would love.
Me three.
Well, and I think you've just proven that, we always say around here that more, two things can be true at the same time.
Mhm.
And so I think each one of us at different times is a taker or a tender. And
I think
so
to a point you have
I see both of those
Yes.
in you. And you've just sat here and told us about how you tend to the guys that
Mhm.
work with you. I've heard how you tend, I firsthand know how you tend to your sister.
Mhm.
I know how you tend to your mom by calling her on a regular basis, how you tend to your girls, how you're intentional with your girls, even sometimes when they resist that. But so I think you are both. Yes. I see areas where I also am selfish and I'm more of a taker in some situations, and I want to be known as more of a tender. But I think that's
Yeah.
why we're here in a community, is to continually encourage each other. This is what I see in you. And I think there's something about verbalizing things that we see in other people that can serve as an encouragement for days where you get kind of tunnel vision that you're
Sure.
only this thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so if we go back to work world, probably to finish out this conversation, if you could imagine several years, or I don't know how many years until you retire, but put yourself in that chair some years down the road and you are training the guy or the gal that's replacing you, what's the one thing you want them to know and carry on about belonging in the workplace?
Listening, asking questions, and taking action. To me, if I couldn't communicate anything else but that, that's what I would communicate.
I love it.
Yeah, I feel like that's good life lessons, period.
Yeah.
Well, it's been a joy to talk to you. Thank you for your time, your transparency, and vulnerability.
It's been my pleasure. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. And thank you for how you support the morning share.
I am the co-creator.
You are the
I was about
co-creator.
to say, we forgot to include that in the intro or the setup
Yeah.
to you, that you helped name the podcast.
I know. I was going to get it in there somehow, one way or another.
We'll get it in.
Yeah, we will.
Well, don't forget that I am not only the co-creator, but I did come up with a background for it.
Perfect.
Well,
Wow.
that was exciting.
That was really neat.
How do you feel?
I feel good. I just realized, when I was introducing him, how exactly what I said. How cool is it that I get to brag and highlight the people that are the most special to me?
Yeah.
And I realized, I should say the things that I love about my people more often to them.
Yeah. Maybe in that we create sense of belonging just to remind people of what we see in them, which is what we kind of pointed out on the
Yes.
Interview, was that to actually call out what we see in someone may just allow them to see it in themselves and feel like they belong to themselves a little bit more. I was just so impressed with when we asked him about how he treats his employees, that he literally named the very things that we advocated for on the podcast as practices to create spaces of belonging.
Yeah. And
Between listening, asking good questions, remembering details that they've shared, personal details they've shared, and then taking action based upon what they've shared.
And in full transparency, we had not had a previous conversation. And I'm going to call him out a little bit. He hadn't even yet listened to our episodes on belonging.
Right.
So it was just an amazing merging
Yeah.
of, and affirmation.
Yeah.
That we were talking about belonging in the way that matters.
Yeah. And it was nice to hear his perspective about at work, what he does there. And there again, I'm so glad because it's not a conversation you and I typically would have since our work is this. So it's nice to talk to somebody in a different space
Yes.
that's talking through the concepts that we're talking through, but just implementing them in a different environment.
Yeah.
For me, it was fun to watch you two talk things out as brother and sister. So
I'm sure.
I was very thankful and felt like that was a little bit of a privilege to watch that.
Yeah.
So super grateful for his transparency, his vulnerability, and his willingness to think through these questions.
Yeah.
So
It was great.
So before we leave you today, we wanted to give you a little bit of a heads up, since we're in community here, that for the month of July, something new, different, and exciting is going to be happening. We're coming off of 25 weeks of episodes.
Which equates to 70.
That would be 70, ladies and gentlemen.
Which feels like a huge accomplishment.
Yes,
A
it
lot
is a
of
big accomplishment.
Blood, sweat, and tears.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And we are ever, ever grateful for every listen you've provided, every share you have offered up to a friend. You've passed an episode on. You've responded to us and let us know what you thought about the episode. It has been a joy to walk alongside of you and have conversations, obviously, with Dee for these months. We've covered quite a few topics.
Yeah. What are some things that keep coming up, you'd say, like that are just on repeat for us?
Oh, my word. Curiosity,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Connection.
Yes. Wonder. I think even reciprocity. And I think these are things that surprised us. That we're saying the same thing. Like as we're developing content, it's like, oh my gosh, this connects to this, and it's like
Yeah.
we talk often about how like we're looking at this one thing, but it's just like turning a prism. Like we're just looking at it from a different angle. And that has been so cool to just realize kind of it's all rooted in,
Yes.
like we said, seeing others as a gift or
Yes.
belonging.
And all of that was to facilitate wholeness, both internally and in the world at large.
Yeah.
And so we have spent a ton of time. I know that, again, one of the big feedbacks we get from people is I was listening to you on my walk and I didn't have anywhere to take notes.
Yes.
And so that is so fun that it's spurring on bigger thoughts and bigger conversations, each of these topics, because I think they really do resonate in the heart of anybody who listens.
Right.
So I've been really proud of us for the conversations we've had. Thank you for sticking in for each of those.
And we want to hear more, truly, like whatever thoughts you have. We hope that you always feel invited to
Yes.
participate in the conversation. So we just want to encourage you to, whatever that looks like, if it's commenting on an episode or if you have our phone number, our emails, like just we want to hear more from you about how it's resonating.
Yes. And even if you want to push back,
Yes.
even if you have a different perspective, if you have a question, if you have heard it differently, we want to hear that too. We have heard that too, and we're open to those conversations. So whatever bubbles up for you, we definitely want to hear it. So as we come off of that, dun, 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 July is going to look a little different.
Yes.
How so?
Well, in thinking through like the next steps, we always want to be modeling what we're talking about. And so we have built in a time of rest.
I just took a big deep breath when you said that.
We need a small break. I would like to be out by the pool.
Yes.
As you can tell, I'm a little bit paler than my normal June skin.
Tint. Yes.
So I want to be in flip-flops. I want to be out by the pool.
Yeah. We have family coming into town,
Yes.
friends coming into town.
So not only do we want to rest, but we want to create space for reflection. This is something that we are super intentional about with each other. And so we want to not only model that, but reflect on the things we've talked about. Are we living those things?
Yeah.
And so we can only do that by creating space. And so that is part of our intention in taking a bit of a break for July. So what can listeners expect for July then?
Well, we're going to go from 3 episodes a week to 1 episode a week.
Yep. Also, you can expect some favorite moments and conversations from previous episodes.
Yeah.
Oh, and this is a time, these are opportunities to catch up on episodes you may have missed. I think something we realized halfway in, the 3 episodes a week was something we were really intentional about.
Yes.
We wanted to bookend weeks, the week. We wanted to have some tension in the middle. But we also, along the way, realized that's a lot of listening.
Yeah.
And so you may have started listening and then like fallen off or whatever. So this builds in some space for you to go back and listen to ones maybe you have missed.
Right.
And then the most important thing is we're going to give a glimpse of
Season
2.
Yeah, we're so excited about that. There's going to be all kinds of new things coming up for season 2 that's going to kick off August 3rd.
Right.
So you definitely don't want to miss that. We're going to be doing some really fun, taking what we've kind of thought through and developed in season 1, and we're going to put a totally different spin and twist on it and head into season 2. So you're definitely not going to want to miss that.
I think the second iteration of anything, well, I can't say that because sequels often are not as good as the first one.
Right.
But just the next version of something is just an exciting thing. There is the unknown, but also there is the known. What have we learned about ourselves in season 1? What have we learned from you all?
Yeah.
And so it may not look a whole lot different, even though we're going to be refreshing the space. But we are grinning from ear to ear. If you're not watching, we are grinning from ear to ear with the possibility of what season 2 will look like.
Yeah.
So we are going to give you a glimpse into that on the last week of July.
Yes.
So stay tuned.
Until then, we hope that you have a blast
Yes.
for this summer, whether it's just regular kind of normal life for you, or whether you find yourself on a staycation, a vacation, sporting events, at the beach, wherever you find yourself. Our hope for you for this time is that you'd be able to be present, that you would see yourself as a gift to the moment, and that the moment would be a gift to you. And in that the magic of everybody belongs would come forth, and you would be able to just have a great summer.
Yeah.
If you're enjoying the morning share, the best thing you can do is share it with a friend.
And don't forget to follow the show wherever you listen so we can keep meeting here each week. You can join the conversation on Substack. Send us a note at info@themorningshare.com or leave a comment wherever you listen to podcasts. We're listening, and we're grateful to be learning alongside of you.